the mental gymnastics the devil plays when you are the one holding on to your faith. Ladies and gentlemen, this is following on from my previous video where I told you about the absolute game-changing epiphany that I had yesterday. Go and check that out to get to the epiphany. And after kind of explaining all of that to you, I kind of wanted to address the mental gymnastic aspect of what I was talking about. So whether you watch that or not, I think this will still be valuable, because I recognize that, obviously when this is the one thing that I think believers don't understand, right? Because we, again, following on from what we've been doing with the Martin Luther stuff and, kind of delving into his life and everything he was trying to do, and him exposing that the church was kind of preaching this salvation based on faith and works, whereas he had discovered from reading the letters of Paul that our salvation is based on faith alone. Of course, the devil loves to address the people with faith, because we now have a church, which is as it was then. We have the same problem now for reasons we'll talk about more in that series, but largely because he didn't really fully send his mission. He kind of doubled back a little bit and changed some of the things he said after he was faced with the chaos, the fallout. There's this song I listen to that says, then the lyrics, I can't escape the fallout. It's so funny how all this time I have so many songs where I'm like, I just been enjoying them, and then it turns out I go and look at the lyrics and it's like, yeah, this is exactly the message the Lord has been trying to get me into my head. Because this is what I realized, part of my epiphany yesterday, is that I'm all out here talking about we're making it to the promised land. I'm not going to be like Moses' generation. Joshua 1 says, be strong and courageous, and here I was cowering away for certain reasons because I didn't want to endure the fallout. And lo and behold, the epiphany that I had. So go and check that out if you want to know. But anyway, I want to talk about the mental gymnastic aspect of it, because obviously the devil's focused on attacking and messing with the person that's got the faith, because he knows the truth. That's the crazy part, is the devil knows the truth. So a lot of Christians live very comfortable lives in this world, in Egypt. Like I said, the Israelites were very comfortable in their slavery. And when it came time to the wilderness and having to deal with all this stuff and trust God, they couldn't do it. They liked their comfortability in slavery, right? In Egypt, they liked being amongst the Egyptians. They were comfortable in the world, can't relate, right? And, and so that's kind of like works Christians, who I think are works plus faith equals salvation Christians, right? Where it's like, oh, I do all these things to tick off the checkbox list of like what I'm supposed to do as a believer, right? So I'm now convinced that I'm a Christian and I'm going to heaven. I'll never forget that there was a message I listened to once, and whoever was saying this message was like, if you got to the gates of heaven and God asked you, why do you what gives you the right to come into heaven right now? All right. I want everybody to stop and actually think about that for a second. If you've never heard me bring this up before, like pause and think and get an answer and then come back. Okay. So pause now. So he basically says, if you thought anything other than, because I confess with my mouth that Jesus is Lord and I believe in my heart that he was raised from the dead, if you've got anything else you think that factors in, you have a problem, because that means you don't believe like Jesus's blood is enough to cover your salvation, which means what would be the point of Jesus? That kind of invalidates, that makes all the other scriptures about Jesus not true. If he doesn't, and like I said in one of my previous videos where we're talking about Martin Luther, this is what opens the door for these other religions to think that Jesus is just a prophet or Jesus isn't the real Messiah or whatever. Because if we're not looking at him as the total salvation and the manifestation of God as human on earth, if we don't believe that 100% and that our salvation comes only through him and not because of our works, then we are just like the other religions. That's the problem. So that's why the devil loves this works thing. So then he doesn't bother with those people over there. When it comes to those of us who've understood what I've just explained, and we know that our job is just whatever happens, you just keep holding on to that faith, and you just keep holding on to that faith, and you just keep holding on to that faith. He knows that we are the problem, just like Martin Luther was the problem. We are the problem, and these are the ones he's going to attack. Because if we become strong and courageous and bold, like I said in my previous video, I'm realizing, wow, I'm not bold enough in what I'm doing. I need to rise up, right? Basically, I need to stand up. I need to shut up, boss up, stand up. Like you guys know, that's like the phrase I always used to say to myself, shut up, boss up, stand up, right? I need to shut up, boss up, stand up, because the enemy is coming for those of us, because we're the ones who are going to make the moves, like Martin Luther sticking on the door frames, his 95 Theses, calling the Pope and the Antichrist, saying that they're wrong about all these things, saying that the church is, whatever. That was beautiful. I need to get there, and I need to get there, and we need to get there. Those of us holding on to faith, and we need to full send, and the more the devil comes against us, the harder we have to fight back. Because what he's going to do is he's going to fight us in the number one most influential battlefield, the mind. In the mind. He's going to fight us up here. And this is why I believe that when the armor of God, we have the helmet of salvation, that silences the lies of the enemy. Because the helmet of salvation, if you have salvation, and if I confess in my mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in my heart is raised from the dead, you're not questioning your salvation. You're not thinking that your works factor in. If you are thinking of your works factoring in, that is one of the biggest opening doors to the devil to mess with you up here. Because then when things are happening and when you're faced with stuff, right, your faith then starts to come into question. Your relationship with God starts to come into question, because you now start to think, well, why I'm not doing enough, or you have resentment because you think, God, but I've done so much for you. Why is this happening? A lot of people who don't believe in God, I don't believe that people don't believe in God. Even people who've left the faith, I don't think they necessarily don't believe in God. Every single time I hear people talk about it, it's always the same thing. There's some kind of issue they have with God that they can't wrap their head around. And therefore, because that answer that wherever they've been, that question hasn't been answered, or those issues haven't been addressed, or the problems with God they haven't addressed, then it's just well, God is out then. That's exactly what the devil wants. That's why the helmet of salvation is so important, because it's your faith, part of faith. I said, I feel like the foundation of faith, having faith, is that you have to trust that God is who he says he is. So your circumstances, whatever's happening, there has to be another reason. And that's where it starts to get tough, because sometimes the other reason things are happening isn't necessarily truths that you might want to address, or those around you. You know what I mean? Sometimes you don't want to address those things around you. I'll give you guys a very kind of example. Is some people say, well, I've been suffering with depression for the last 5 years. And, God, if I prayed for you to take this away from me, how come it's not gone away? Oh, it's been 5 years. It hasn't gone away. So God, you must not be real. But then there's a part of you that deep down knows, oh, this relationship I'm in, this boyfriend, this girlfriend I have, ironically, my depression started at the same time as the time I got with this person. But I love them. I don't want to leave them. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be by myself. What am I going to do? How am I going to live? We've been doing this together and doing that together. I'm going to have to restructure my entire life. So that's the underlying truth you might not want to address. Now, if you choose to stay there, God's not going to force you, because God is a gentleman. But you're going to go to God in the hopes that he's going to compromise his character by, removing your depression while you're where you're not supposed to be, right? And doing what you want. It's crazy. But so that's what I'm saying. This is just an example of where the truth might be there, but you're not prepared to address it. And you'd rather question God's character. A loving God wouldn't let me stay depressed for 5 years. Yeah, it's a loving God also wouldn't help you overcome depression just to stay with somebody you're not supposed to be with. But that's the uncomfortable truth, isn't it? You guys see what I'm saying? I have a lot of these kinds of conversations with God where I'm like, God, how comes this? How comes that? My epiphany, as soon as the epiphany hit me, I was and I've been saying on my channel for the last how many months about how I'm waiting for the Lord to just when is the Lord? When is the Lord? When is the Lord? And the Lord is when are you going to shut up, boss up, stand up? More. When are you going to be strong and courageous? Oh, damn, that's a hitter. It's a hard hitter. This is what I'm saying. Having a relationship with God, listen, he's a gentleman. He's got no time for no nonsense. He's no nonsense. And sometimes it's uncomfortable, but I love it. So when you're the person of faith, right, the devil's going to come at you with the truths, with lies, just like I just gave the example. The lie is, oh, God must not be loving. The truth is, where you are is not where you're supposed to be. And if you were not there, you would not be in that situation. You would not be. And that's where I see that a lot with people. I have a tendency now, if I know people, like I've decided as of like right now, but I've been thinking about it, that I'm no longer going to have relationships with people that know there's somebody in their life, whether it be friend or family or whatever, that causes them stress, that's working against them, that's their enemy. They pretend like it's okay. If you have to see them, you have to be around them, but you're aware and you're willing to acknowledge their place and you just acknowledge that this is just how things have to be, fine. But if you're going to keep pretending that your life is not, you're not having all these issues because of those people, and just blindly being like I used to be, the idiot, literally being the go-to gal for your own abusers and people, whatever, or even defending them, I'm not tolerating people like that anymore. That's one of the decisions I've made. I'm not tolerating that, because I'm not going to be here, the one that you're going to complain to time and time again about this person who I then see you with kikiing and hee-hawing at Christmas. Nope, not anymore, right? Because it's those people that the devil's going to use to do the mental gymnastics on you. And the mental gymnastics, right, they look like things like, so as I was saying in my epiphany, so much of the reason I wasn't being strong and courageous as I could have been, that I didn't even realize I wasn't being, is because I was invalidating myself. I was saying things to myself like, I already feel like an imposter being here because all these people have professional singers. This is my first ever professional singing job. I've been thrown straight into the deep end. I was thinking about this yesterday because I couldn't believe it, that we performed on stages that have more than half the population of this town I live in. The population here is like 90,000 people. More than half. I think the biggest performance here was 60,000 people. That's freaking insane. That's insane. So I'm like, I was invalidating myself in so many ways, and I still do. Like, oh, I'm just, I'm just a lot of work. I'm a lot of work for people. I'm just too young. I don't have experience. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to adult. And because I have all these thoughts, right? This is what I'm saying about the mental gymnastics. It then makes me lack in confidence, because it's like, I'm always thinking to myself, maybe there's something I'm missing. And for that, maybe I shouldn't be so confident, right? And that's a thought I think all the time, which was unfortunately very much proven when I went to one of these dance competitions. And this is embarrassing, especially because there's actually a video of it on the internet. But anyway, and I was performing with my dancers at competition. And in the second 8 count of the whole dance, I messed up, you guys. And it was a mental thing, because I was feeling so much pressure, like, because I had spoken with one of the judges who's like a really well-known, like, who's really involved in the industry, who was like, I'm going to be watching you especially. There's industry choreographers here. Like, it was a big deal. And I really let it get to my head, because I made this choreography up and it's the second 8 count. Like, anyway, so I messed up. I recovered very quickly. But anyway, I messed it up, like, one move. And ever since then, I was like, I never am going to be confident, like, push myself forward confidently again. Like, even when I was like singing my singing performance, I look back and I'm like, you should have been more confident. You should have sang more confidently. But then I was thinking, what if I get too confident and then I sing the wrong note? Sometimes I like kind of softly start my notes so I can hear if it's the right note. Like, I'm like, it's like, come on, you wrote these songs. Come on, you know what I mean? Every little thing, I'm like, oh, should I? Like, even with YouTube yesterday, I made a video and then afterwards I had a panic. I was like, oh, I need to take that down. I was talking about the slave trade, and I started to really get into my thoughts about, Africa, being African, and what I really think about African people and my experience. And of course, because it's very much closer to home and it's going to be an uncomfortable conversation, particularly for the Black folk of the world, It's like, oh, should I shy away again? Like, it's not, it's the mental gymnastics of it all, because it's like, again, with that video, I'm thinking, oh, well, you never really lived in Africa as an adult, so maybe you don't know, you know what I mean? Or you don't even know about this. What if I didn't do it? Like, the one thing I've given myself the grace of is I'm not going to ever make myself feel like I have to, once I feel comfortable with the amount of research I've done, I'll stop. Because if I was to do the amount of research that would give me the mental peace that I felt like I did enough research for any topic, I would get to the end of my life and I wouldn't have moved past the first topic, because it would never end if I was to think about it like that. But then the devil still uses that against me sometimes. It's like, well, you don't really know what you're talking about. And then sometimes I do make that mistake that then obviously reinforces those lies. And then this is the mental gymnastics that we be going through that then make me think, well, should I really step forward boldly and courageously? Because maybe I step forward boldly and courageously, and then the Lord turns around and he goes and he's like, well, actually, you was wrong here. And and that did actually happen to me as well, where I did one time, well, then I don't actually know, because the options, the thing is as well, with a lot of these situations where I'm like, I feel like I stepped forward boldly and I regretted it afterwards. Some of them, I feel like, because I never fully sent the thing because of these things, that's actually what stopped it, not the fact that I stepped forward. But then the devil, I opened the door, but it is just complicated. And this is what I'm saying, it's mental gymnastics. And this is why I realize I'm a sufferer of analysis paralysis, where I just sit there and I'm just like, God, like, I feel comfortable, just like, let me just fall back. Let me just go and disappear into Antarctica. I don't have to be around anybody. I don't have to do anything, because this is a lot. And that's where the devil will get you in your mind, thinking things about yourself that like for example, thinking things about yourself or thinking about lies that will then take you off the course. And he has to go for the person with the faith, because then if that person steps up being boldly and strongly and courageously and is strong and courageous like the Lord said, that's a problem for them. So of course that's the person who's going to suffer with the mental gymnastics the most. And it's so funny, because all the friends that I have who are like in my position, we're all going through the exact same thing. Everything I just talked about, like fighting in the spirit for everybody, feeling like, the singled out person that's just a weirdo, because that's the other thing. The enemy does well, and that's where Jezebel works well, especially for us as women. Then singling you out as like the one who either is seen as the problem in the group. Oh, the amount of times I was told I was the problem. I'm the problem. I created the problem. I made up the problem, when I didn't do that. And I knew I didn't even at the time, but I'm facing the jury of the sheeple. And sometimes I did, and I have always, and I do think I'm the problem. Like, even now, I feel like half the reason I don't want to have children or be married is because I feel like they deserve better than what I have to offer. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like I'll be the problem. That's my worry. Like, oh my gosh, what if I'm the problem? Like, that's what I'm scared about. I'm not scared about anything else other than that. Like, genuinely speaking, what if I'm ill-equipped and I'm the problem? Because I feel ill-equipped and like I'll be the problem. You know what I'm saying? And, and that's why I don't even trust any of these things that men say to me. I'm like, because every time any man even compliments me, I'm like, yeah, because you don't know me. You think that because you don't know me. Oh, you're a good woman. I'm like, you think that because you haven't got to know me that well. If you got to know me, you wouldn't think that. Like, and I think about that. You know what I mean? Again, it's the mental gymnastics. Also, somebody did tell me I was not a good woman, and that was crazy. Actually, do you know what it was? Do you know who it was? I'll tell you who it was. It was my ex. That was the moment I was like, you're done. Because you're not about to tell me that. There's a lot of things about me that you can critique me on, and one thing I definitely am is a good woman. So don't you dare. And when he said it, he knew he didn't mean it, and he tried to apologize. So I was like, no, I cannot tolerate somebody who would say that to me after all this time. Absolutely not. After everything that I've done for you, after everything that I've done for you, go and find another woman that's going to compete, and he never will. He never will. I can upgrade, he could never. And that's what I realized. And that's when I exited stage left. Because I was like, you really going to do that? Do you know how lucky you are? Do you know how blessed other people be? Are you dumb? So, are you dumb? But this is what the devil will do. He'll use the people that have the closest access to you and those around you to put these things into your head. That's why I feel like, a lot of times throughout my life, I do things out of pure passion. That's why I have all these songs written that ain't nobody ever heard of. That's why my favorite time to dance is when I'm by myself. That's why when I want to talk, I don't have to tell everybody all my knowledge and all conversations. I come and talk on YouTube freely for who wants to listen to it as much as they want to or don't want to. the rest of the time I go on about my days. I'm not shoving my knowledge or my thoughts or my opinions down anybody's throat. You'd be surprised. I think people are surprised when they realize I'm not out here just always talking about everything that I think. Because it's not necessary. But then the number of times I've been told throughout my life, oh, you're just attention seeking, you love the attention. So then I'm like, I don't then not do certain things. I don't want to seem attention seeking. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, oh no, I've been told I'm attention seeking. I won't do this because I'm like, oh, you're arrogant. I don't do things because I've been told I'm arrogant. This is one of the reasons I got close to the Lord, because I feel like, you know, with God, he knows my true intentions. So if I know that with God, he knows the truth. So I don't have to feel like however I present myself, because I am very out. What's the word? I do love to perform. You know what I mean? I'm somebody who likes to like create and perform and be out there and be bold and be, you know what I mean? I enjoy doing that, but I enjoy doing it because I love it, not because of the attention, which again is why I think I've noticed that for a lot of celebrities, I've said this to you guys, I realize a lot of people, you know, when they want to become famous, they do just really want to become successful and get booked on whatever job they can get booked in or get signed by whichever label they can get. For me, it's not about that. Like, I want to curate what I want to do, what's meaningful to me, to express myself, because for me it's so therapeutic and so enjoyable, and I enjoy all the bits, you know. It's like when I have, like when I'm like for example when I used to do my showcases, which I only got to do while I was at uni, my proper showcases. I did concerts and stuff afterwards, but my proper dance showcases. And the parts I would love would be like when I start to think about doing the venue and like making a floor plan. Like I'll be making the floor plan and like thinking about how many numbers of songs are we gonna do, and like, you know, and like then organizing the rehearsals, like giving people opportunities, like you choreograph your own dance if you want, like you need to have your dances in, like I'd say to the dancers, by this time, and then we'd all perform the dances for each other, and I'd get to see everybody's personalities. And I loved watching all the dancers with coming up with things I had never seen from them before, because I'm always the one teaching. So they've got their own concepts, they've got their own costumes, their personalities are coming out. I have my dances where I get to do things that maybe I wouldn't do for a competition, or I wouldn't do with the whole group. And I got to pick a couple of the dances I want to specifically pick for different specific things. And I remember even one of my dances that went off the best, I remember I decided to, at the last, like 2 weeks before the show, I decided I'm going to add another dance from my own, because I felt like there wasn't really something with my signature on it. And I just picked a couple of the girls, and that was the favorite dance for a lot of people. They were like, that was my favorite dance. And I was like, I can't believe that. And you know what I mean? And the bit that I was enjoying was the like me choreographing to it, like by myself in the studio, teaching it to the girls, having a laugh, you know, like in the studio while we're doing it, you know, or some of the other performances we did where one of them we all choreographed it together, and like being in the studio and working on it and practicing it and getting it right and like doing all of that, and then the rehearsals and then the dress rehearsals, and then seeing everybody backstage like putting on their makeup, doing their hair, costume, taking photos. Like I literally was crying with happiness when I saw so many of the photos that were being taken when I wasn't there, like backstage, like the girls were all posing and they were like having a good time. And like I remember like when I went to competition and seeing the people around me, like seeing them all smile, like taking photos with the trophy and laughing together, and like this made me so happy. So it's like I love doing stuff like that, and that's what makes me love it, right? So then when it's like I turns around that after I do the fact, it's like, who do you think you are to be doing this? Like this, I'm saying things that people say. So I'm saying it's the mental gymnastics of like, oh, you just like having attention, or you just like being. I've had so many people say like, oh, you just don't like to follow the rules, you just don't this. And I'm like, is there something wrong with me? Like I've been asking the Lord, like it gets to my head, I'm like, oh God, is there something wrong with me? Am I walking in pride? That's been one of the recent ones. I'm like, am I walking in pride but being so bold on YouTube, right? Because I can't decipher the difference between, you know, the devil keeps trying to use my confidence and my boldness by rebranding it as pride, because he knows that's one of the number one things I never want to fall into, and I'm so fearful of falling into, because I've seen so many people fall into pride, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like these are the types of mental gymnastics that you'd be going through. And that's why I always say that, you know, the entertainment industry is the frontline force of the kingdom of darkness, because if the devil can influence, whoever controls what you think controls what you do, right? So again, when you're watching all these TV programs, I can't watch any of these new TV series and new movies these days because they're all too degenerate. I'll hear everybody talking about particular shows, right? And I'm like, oh, everyone's talking about this show, that show, that show. And there was once upon a time where I would watch it and I'd be like, oh, this is really good. These days, it's just so degenerate. I'm like, I can't watch this. Like, this is making me uncomfortable in spirit. And this is what all the adults are watching. That's very revealing of the adult population. Can I just say as well, it's very revealing. Like, and that's where, again, those types of things build my confidence, because I think, oh, so this is evidence of what you do behind the scenes then. Because this, you're so comfortable with this. I'm not comfortable with this. But then outwardly looking, again, I'm the one who gets the critique. I'm the one who looks like the rebel. I just like to rebel for the sake of it. That's probably been the most classic with my whole life, is that I'm just like trying to be rebellious just to be rebellious, just to feel cool. Like, listen, life would be way easier just following along with the jury of the sheeple and just following along with the entropy. It might make my life a whole lot easier. I've had to lose out friends, family. I've had to lose out opportunities. I've had to lose my sanity. Sometimes I've not lost my sanity, but my peace. I've had to be in spiritual battles to be here. It's not fun in games. It's like when people will say, oh, like, competing and stuff, like I said, or like even when I used to compete in sports, right? And I'll never forget that day where I was going to, I was really excited because a bunch of us had all gone to compete at this regional, whatever the thing is, competition, athletics competition. And I was so excited because I think I got 1 or 2 first place medals that day, I can't remember, but I come first place. And I think it was the first time I came first place, the first competition I did. So we're going against all the other schools. I don't know how this is going to go from like not just this town, but like the region. So I'm like, okay, I was so excited because, again, I get there, I'm looking, there's girls who look way more organized. They've obviously had the training, they've got the proper gear on, the proper shoes, the proper outfits and stuff, and I'm just here showing up in my average everyday PE kit. You know what I'm saying? And so I psyched myself out. So I was quite surprised that I actually won, right? And a lot of times that I've won, I've been surprised, like myself. That's why I'm like, yeah, just say arrogant and make it. So I run over to one of my friends and I'm like, oh my gosh, how did you do? And then she goes to me, you're just asking me because you want to tell me how well you did. And I was like, actually, I do want to tell you how I did, but I also really want to see how you did because I'm hoping we all did really well. Oh my gosh, shoot me. You know what I mean? Like, I was excited for everybody. I was excited to see how everybody did. I was shocked that I did well. I was asking because I genuinely wanted to know how she did. And I asked first before saying mine because, again, I didn't want to shove it in somebody's face. If she turns around, she's like, oh, I didn't do well, I didn't place. Then I would just maybe not be as like, oh, I can't believe it, I didn't expect I was going to get first. Do you know what I mean? Because it might sting. So I was actually trying to be considerate by asking her how she did before mentioning how I did. And I wouldn't even have to mention how I did. So this is what I'm saying. It's all these things. And where it's like those little things, all these little niggles throughout my life, I've realized the mental gymnastics. So then when I want to do something, as soon as I make a bold step, that's when the anxiety hits hard because I'm like, oh my gosh, what in the hell have you done, right? What the helly on? And then the anxiety hits and the anxiety just drives you in crazy because then you don't want to do anything. You don't want to move. You don't want to breathe. You don't want to eat. You guys, when I decided to make the crazy decision to go ahead and tell a grown man that I had feelings for him, oh my gosh, I did not sleep for 3 months, you guys. I had anxiety like nothing else. I was having hot sweats in the middle of the night, waking up at 3 o'clock, trying to regulate my breathing. Oh, until now, I'm like, why did you open your mouth? Why? And even now, thinking about it, you're making my anxiety, my ears getting hot. I'm feeling my body temperature going up. You know what I mean? It's the mental gymnastics. Why on earth would you say that? Why would you do this? What was I'm not going to get into the questions that I had with this because that topic is a hair too sensitive to get into. But the point being that I'm realizing part of the epiphany, like I said, this video is an extension off of the previous video when I was talking about my epiphany. I'm realizing that so many things I haven't done in my life, it's because the mental gymnastics that I was going through of like dealing with what the enemy puts in my head, but also dealing with what other people say and how I've actually absorbed it in my mind. You know what I mean? That's why I've started to be a bit bolder in doing certain things out there in the world. on purpose to try and combat, like, even the small things, like me getting this long live the patriarchy tattoo, right? Because this is something that's going to be on my arm forever. In a society of, like, some people would argue, oh, you're just trying to be a pick-me, you're just trying to kiss the asses of the guys, and I know I'm always going to get that. But in reality, I'm making a statement, like, of which side I sit on this thing. And like I said, for me, I say that because God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, they are men. They are the patriarchy. The patriarchy is God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. And that's at least the patriarchy I'm part of. So that's why I'm saying that. You know what I mean? And I'm doing this. I put it on my wrist, so it's like I can't run away from this. It's like a mental thing for me. And like, so when I'm dealing with people, and when I'm going about life, and I'm things are getting into me in my head, I can't run away from the fact that I've had this written on my arm. If somebody brings it up, I can't run away. So it's going to help me to overcome some of this stuff. Like this, I'm saying, I'm very strategic with everything that I do and the way that I do things on purpose. The same reason why I decided not to create my appearance to look like the perfectly Christian girl. Because then if I'm now talking about God, like now I'm forced, when dealing with Christians, I'm forced to have uncomfortable conversations because I can't just fall back and just like, at least I look the part so no one's questioning anything. Now I have to deal with the uncomfortability, and it is uncomfortable, let me tell you, because when I meet Christian people, they're like, da, da, da. Especially because a lot of them talk to me as if like, you know, you need to get to know God. I'm like, oh, I'm actually very familiar with God. And it's like, but you don't look like you would be. And it's like, yeah, this is a great starting point for this conversation. It's very difficult. It's also very anxiety inducing, but it's good for me because it's helping me to just combat these things. Like, that's why I say you kind of have to sometimes do things that are like strategically against what people might understand, but you and God know why you're doing it. You know what I'm saying? And there's a purpose behind doing it. You know what I mean? It's like when I got a tongue piercing, it was the same story. I was thinking about it for a long time ago, because I like to test out my pain tolerance. Hence why I've had lots of places pierced, just to see how painful it would be. Right. And I remember talking about it with the Lord. I was like, well, I don't really have to. Like, I don't really have to do anything. And then God was like to me, God, but it's the only reason you're not doing it because of what you think other people are going to think. Because I think the Christians are going to look at me some type of way, and the world is going to assume that I'm for the streets. And I was like, yeah. And then he's like, seems like you care more about what other people think than what I do. Because if you don't feel like I have a problem with it, then why would you not just go and do it then if that's what you want to do? And I was like, bet. And lo and behold, again, the assumptions, but it's helping me so that when I'm having to it helps me to reinforce within myself against the mental gymnastics of me reminding myself why I did things and why. Even this tattoo here, 1 John 3:18, little children, let us love not just in word, but in deed and in truth. It's a reminder. So when people are playing mental gymnastics, that their standard of love is good enough, or that the standard of the love in the world is good enough, just because someone says they love you, that means they love you. No, I will remember 1 John 3:18 that says, little children, let us love not just in word, but in deed and in truth, in what we do and from a place of truth. So just because you do something, that doesn't mean I believe you did that for the right reasons. I had a situation like that recently where, where I was in need of help with something and somebody helped me. And I noticed that they helped me with this thing, even though they didn't help me with other things. And I realized that the reason they were doing the help is because of how it made them look. They got to then be like the one that stepped in. They can tell the story to 100 people. They can play the victim card of how stressful it was for them, but they were just so happy to be able to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I'm saying. It's the mental gymnastics of things. Because then I'm also sitting there like, oh, this person must care. I should just whatever. Like, and then wondering why I'm suffering, and wondering why whenever I'm around this person, or I'm wondering why, I feel so whatever. And it's like, because that person was loving, maybe indeed, but that deed was indeed and in lie. You know what I mean? Like, you'd have to do things to like counteract these thoughts. That's why I also have this channel, called The Winning Team. Again, recently somebody tried to attack me about that as well. Like, you call your channel The Winning Team. Like, this happened to me like last week or the week before. You call your channel The Winning Team. And I was just like, well, how can you? And it was one of those where I was like, you know what? In the past, I would have been like, yeah, you're right. Oh my gosh, who am I? But because I've had to just stand on it, there's so many times where I've lost, my confidence has been built up, and the lies of the enemy have been silenced for the fact that I've called my channel The Winning Team, because it reminds me that you're a winner and you need to win. So don't let things tell you, like, if you have to regroup, if you have to learn a lesson, if you make mistakes, whatever, it's all a part of it. So when even this person said it to me, like in the past, that would have wrecked me. How could you call your channel the winning team? If they had said that to me, like the day after I'd changed the channel, I probably would have changed it back. But where I've had to just go through the process of fighting against my own mental gymnastics, like I think all the time about it, like, do I have a right to call this channel the winning team? So because I've addressed that so heavily, those lies, I now, when they said that, I was like, I can say that because I've actually objectively, outside of the fact that the winning team is all about the fact that if you have Christ, Christ will win. So it's not even about me, for starters. I have also just objectively, as far as worldly achievements, won a lot of things. I actually have. And I've been strategic in how I've won those things. And I'm sharing my strategies with people who want to know, who want to experience those. I'm not saying that because I want to believe in it. I'm not saying that because it's a journey I want to get to. I'm saying it because it's objectively true. And also the other side of it is, the root of it all is that, well, this channel is founded by God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, I hope. You know what I mean? I'm just the vessel. I'm just the vessel. And that might sound like, again, I'm lowering myself, but I'm still not, because I'm still the proactive vessel. I'm the one moving my mouth right now. You know what I mean? I'm the one who gets on here and hits record. I'm the one who chooses the research I'm doing, you know what I mean? Even if I feel led by the Lord. So I know I'm doing the work, you know what I mean? And so, yeah. And so this is what I'm saying about the mental gymnastics that I'm realizing that goes down. And it's because you're the one holding on to the faith. Because it's like, if you boldly in faith, like if I really believe everything I say I believe on this channel, then, and if I really believe what I really believe, right? I'm a problem to the enemy, because the enemy wants to destroy us. Because if we now go to show, imagine we now show that we're in the promised land. That's going to be the biggest signal to the world that our God is the one true living God. If we make it to the promised land, because then when they're all stressed about their worldly issues, like there's this family I watch on YouTube, I'm going to do a video about them, so I won't get too much into them. And I believe they've found their promised land. I believe they found their promised land because they are living almost as independently, almost as possible. Every time I check in with them over the years, I started watching their channel before I even moved here. They bit by bit are just disconnecting their reliance on the world more and more, and they're just thriving. Now they essentially have a freaking farm. They got cows, they got chickens, they got all sorts. They do everything for themselves. The kids, they've been homeschooled, but they're like all advanced level. Like you'll see. I'm gonna do a video about them. I've already got the footage. I just have to edit it. You guys know I'm not a fan of editing. By the way, it's actually very much not nighttime. It's just dark because there's so many clouds. There's been so much raining happening, which I'm not necessarily mad about. Anyway, and so yeah, like if we make it, like this is the thing, if we make it, if we stand boldly, like if we see the giants, like those of us who are in faith, if we don't invalidate ourselves for whatever reason, I don't have the experience, I don't have the qualification, I don't have this, I'm just a woman. That one comes into my head all the time. I'm just a woman. You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like I don't have strength on my side. I don't feel like men really respect women. Like when it comes to these types of things in particular, like who cares about my voice? It's always also men in the comments. Whenever I start getting really biblical and making these series, it's always men in the comments critiquing me and assuming, oh, is that what your pastor told you? It's always them. And I'm like, to be expected, you know, so I'm like, I'm just a woman. It makes me feel helpless. It makes me feel like, what's the point in speaking? What's the point in doing anything? Because nobody's going to listen. You know what I mean? And then I go back to the scripture of, you know, about what we're women and what we should and shouldn't be doing. And I'm like, I'm not even trying to be doing that. I'm just sharing my own thing. Also, I was like, where is anybody else going to step up? When is anybody else going to say anything? And it's just, you know, because like, what are we going to do? You know what I mean? And if I overcome all of that, and if we do, those of us who have faith, again, we don't have these big, huge support systems. You know, I was talking with a friend of mine who was telling me we hadn't caught up in a while, and she was literally explaining the exact same situation that she's in. Of like, I feel isolated. I have people around me, I have people I care about, but I feel like on a spiritual level, I'm fighting everything alone. And I was like, exactly. Feel ya there. Got ya. Believe ya. You know what I mean? Because if our faith pulls through, right? Because that's all it takes, you to hold on to your faith. And then we're living lifestyles of the heirs of the kingdom of heaven. and the world is going crashing, people are going to then want to go to God. And that's why we're the biggest threat. That's why making it to the promised land is the biggest threat. Because if we now thrive in the promised land, it's going to be like the world struggling in Egypt, watching us having a party, eating the line of milk and honey, the juiciest grapes you ever did see in your damn lives. We're all living as a village. We're all looking after each other. We ain't relying on the government. We ain't relying on the pharmaceuticals. We ain't relying on the school systems. We ain't relying on the technology. We ain't relying on, you know what I mean? We are thriving alone in our own communities, in our own ways. And it's going to make the world look at us like, oh, now we see that they now look set apart, because why are they okay? And we're out here talking about the cost of living crisis. Why are we, like this woman, she was saying in her video, this family, she was like, yeah, me and she's taught 4 of the kids now how to milk the cows. They're going to take this milk that they're going to have for them to drink. This milk she's going to make yogurt with. And they're just doing all this stuff alone. And I'm just like, wow. They've got essentially a whole entire grocery store's worth of food stored in their house. Like, they're ready for the times ahead. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is how it's different in the kingdoms. I'm like, now we're talking. This is what I expect to see. For me, that's what makes me realize that Christians are not, the fact that Christians are not preparing like that. I also know other people who are very much preparing for potential long periods of time where we don't have access to things like food, electricity, water. People are preparing for that. The people who are in the know are preparing for that. That's also where my anxieties come from, because I'm like, God, I'm not preparing anything. Right now, all I'm preparing is to have all the information to give everybody about the scriptures and stuff. Hopefully, I found my right part to play in the group project, because, you know, and that's the other thing the enemy gets me with, you know, again, mentally, it's like, well, you're not even prepared. You're not even anywhere. You're not even doing this. You're not even, you know, build, like, you know, I'm saying prepared for whatever. That's where my anxiety comes from, because I'm like, God, if the government, if whoever decides to flip the script tomorrow morning, I'm not ready. I'm not anywhere where I can comfortably, and I'm still going to hold on to my faith. Hey, if they're going to throw me in prison, I don't care. I decided that in 2020 when this whole, you know, injection thing came along. I took a long, hard think in that moment about which side I was going to sit on. I thought about what I would do if they said, oh, you have to, or if you don't, we're going to put you in whatever. I was like, I'm not doing it. And the reason why, at that time, I don't think it was as important, but it was, for me, it was like, this is now giving me an example of where we're headed and where we're going. So I now have to sit there and dig deep and actually think about what I'm actually going to do. Because now we're in a position where, yeah, this is the timing we're on. And so this whole cutesy thing of like, oh, I'll just, we'll just go along with it and we won't think too much about the future. We can't afford to do that. I have to choose where I'm at now so that when the bigger things come, I'm mentally prepared. So, you know, but yeah, so those are like some of them. Those are just my personal examples of the mental gymnastics, because I'm now thinking, right, ever since that, I'm going to be doing more thinking about it. Obviously, all I do is think, I feel like. Ever since that, I'm now starting to think to myself, like, how many things could be happening right now and are not because of my lack of boldness and courageousness, and what kinds of mental gymnastics are affecting me? Because I feel like there are obviously the things that the Lord has to do. I think some of those things he was kind of allowing time to pass till I got to here, to recognizing that, oh, I need to be strong and courageous, and I need to, you know, really screw down that helmet of salvation. You know what I mean? And the shield of faith, again, in the thing that, you know, blocks the flaming arrows of the enemy. Your faith, you know, the enemy's trying to come and bring things through, send thoughts into your head, all these things, send things at you. Your shield of faith, your faith that shields you from things. Because when you're under Christ, you have that protective layer, you know, from whatever the enemy's doing. So yeah, you guys, anyways, I think I'll leave that there because I feel like I've explained enough. I've really poured my heart out, but part of the reason I have to is because I realize I'm not being strong and courageous, right? And I feel like it takes a lot of courage, actually, and strength to actually talk so real and honest as I do on my channel, because I feel like a lot of people love the idea of just only talking about topics and not getting into their personal life, you know, which is fine if that's what you decide to do. Or a lot of believers love to talk about their relationship with God as if everything's all cushy and being a Christian is so perfect, which it is if you're just a works-based Christian. probably. Because again, a lot of Christians is saying to me, how do you think it's okay? How can you be struggling with your faith? People be like, oh yeah, I have works, but I struggle to have faith. I'm like, but faith is the foundation. Faith is the only foundation. I should do that as my next video. We're going to do that because I got a lot to say, obviously, today after this whole epiphany. So that's where we'll go next. But how faith is the foundation and it's not optional. Like, it's not an optional thing. It is the foundation. So if you don't have that, what do you have? And that's why when you don't have that, people be like, oh yeah, well, I go to church, I go to Bible study, I listen to the Bible, I listen to the praise and worship all the time. I do listen to praise and worship, by the way, guys. I just don't share the songs because I am gatekeeping that because it's like, I don't know. I feel like when I share things with people, it ruins it. So I like having my worship songs to myself, okay? But there's lots of worship songs that I listen to, and I've actually honestly got a really good playlist. You know, I'm like, how is it, you're like, you tick all those boxes. Oh, I volunteer on the weekend doing this, and I give money to I give food to the food bank. All of this stuff. I haven't missed church service in 100 years. But I struggle a little bit with faith. Faith is the foundation. Anyway, we'll get into that in the next video because I guess I got a lot to say because there's a lot that needs to be said, and a lot, evidently, I haven't really said as confidently as I could because of the things I'm talking about here with the mental gymnastics. So there you go, you guys. I hope that helps. I hope that's encouraging to anybody who suffers from these things as well, that you can know that, yeah, it's a part of it. And sometimes when you're going through it in your head, just the awareness of knowing that that's what the enemy is going to do can kind of help a little bit to combat it, because it can stop you in your tracks of like, wait a minute, maybe this mental spiral or all these questions, all these things spinning in my head, that could just be the enemy bringing in confusion. And that's where, again, you can have faith and confidence and be strong and courageous and just say, you know what? And everything that I've ever done that has succeeded, it's not because I was so confident myself, but I've been like, you know what? I'll say a prayer to God, like, God, I'm not sure how this is going to go, but I'm going to go and do it. And I'm going to trust you for whatever happens on the other side, because the Bible does say all things work together for good for those who are called or in Christ Jesus. I can never remember. This is just the horror of it all, isn't it? Let's just check it out on my Bible. Because why do I always get it wrong? Really? Let's just check now, you guys. Hold on. All things work together for good. And I've been showing you guys that as well on the channel, where I've been showing you that, like, sometimes things go the way I want them to, sometimes they don't. But ironically, they always bring me, it's like, even now, the stuff I'm talking to you guys about now, we wouldn't be here with all these things if everything good and bad hadn't happened that has happened that I'm telling you about. I would have never got to these lessons. And somebody else telling them to me might not hit as hard as me actually experiencing it firsthand. Like I was saying to you guys about the whole hospital thing. I've been thinking things about the hospital, and it was another one of those things where I was like, oh, you know what, maybe it's not that bad. You know, maybe I'm just making a big thing out of nothing. And thank God that I did go, because brother, it was worse than I even thought. It was worse. So I'm like, good. So now thank the Lord. And I feel like sometimes he allows me to go through things for that exact reason, to silence the lies of the enemy. It's like, I know we're going to question this again. Here we go. Romans 8:28, and we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good for those who are called according to his purpose. For those who are called according to his purpose, all things work together for good. So whatever happens, and that's the thing that always gives me, that also helps to combat the lies of the enemy, is that as long as you're holding on to your faith, it says, for those who love God, all things work together for good, those who love God. So that's where it is. I mean, that's why we just hold on to our faith. Whatever happens, we keep maintaining that faith. Don't question the Lord. Don't question A, B, C, D, E, F, G. What did I say I was going to talk about in the next video? Anyways, I'll figure that out in a second. With that being said, guys, I know I'm sorry the videos are so long. I just have so much to freaking say. There's so much to be said. And I also don't want to be held back if the Lord is like, well, you're just not uploading. That's another thing that gets in my head, where I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I have so much to say. I'm like, should I just upload all of it? And then I'm like, maybe there's too much. And it's like, well, maybe I just should. Because again, everybody has free will. Watch as much as you want. Anyway, I'm going to go. I'm going to get to the next video. It's going to be about whatever I said it was going to be about, because I'm going to check it, whatever is the video. Oh, the faith and works thing, that faith is not an option. It's the foundation. So you can check that out. That'll be the next video. Anyways, you guys, if life's a game, stay to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.